Hello, hello. How are you all? Fabi here. How are you guys? Fabi here from Fabi English. Okay, just wait for people to join me. All right, okay, people already joining. That's so cool. All right, so please tell me where you're watching this from. I love to know where you're watching this from. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fabi. I'm an English teacher. I live here in Brisbane, Australia. Yeah, guys, when you think of Australia, you think of a warm place, right? Pretty hot, sunny. It's about 11 degrees outside right now. It's pretty cold. Winter is coming here in Brisbane, Australia. All right. Okay. Yeah. So so I'm an English teacher here, and I help people get the score they need on the IELTS test. And do the test only once. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So today I'm just gonna start by putting the link to YouTube here. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can do one thing. Pin comment. Good. Okay. So I've pinned the comment. Okay. So if you click on that link, you will be able to join me on YouTube. All right, guys, because I'm going to use the board today. Yeah, if you're watching me on Instagram, you can see the board. Okay, so can you please make the move? Okay, so just click on the link that is on Instagram and go over to YouTube. All right. Goody, goody. All right. So, guys, if you have any questions, you can pop the questions in. All right. Just go ahead, pop questions in. I might not get to the questions until the end. All right. But I will get to them later. All right. So, if you'd like to see the board, move over to YouTube. The link is in the comments. Okay, so today, I don't know if you know, but today we will be talking about the IELTS test. Surprise, surprise. Yes, we'll be talking about the IELTS test. But what's the test like? Okay, so today I'm going to give you all the details, each part, everything. Okay, I've done it a few times, but I feel that it's always good to do it again. All right, because sometimes you guys forget, and I feel that my job sometimes is help you remind of things. Okay, remind yourself of things. Okay, and help you remember things. All right, good. So let's get started. All right, so if you like to see the board, click on the link there and head to YouTube. All right. If there is a problem with the link, okay, guys, just let me know. But I think there will be no problem with the link. All right, goody goody. Now, okay, let me get started. I'll try to move it a little bit. Oops, oh my God. Well, it's not working, is it? No, it's not working. Yeah, guys, head to YouTube. It's the best bet. All right, cool. So, as we know, the IELTS test has 4 parts. Okay, the IELTS test has 4 parts. So let me get started here. When you're going to do the IELTS test, the first thing you're going to do is the listening part. So let me write listening here. All right. Okay, so when you're going to do the IELTS test, the first thing you're going to do is the listening part. And the listening part has 4 parts. Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so the listening test has 4 parts. Okay, and the total is about, it's not about, it is 40 questions. Okay, so you get 40 questions. So you get 10, 10, 10, and 10. All right, so you get 40 questions. All right, and with these 40 questions, okay, there are there are different levels, I would say. Okay, so for example, the first part of the listening test is quite simple. Okay. So what you will hear is something that is quite everyday conversation. Okay. So things that you hear every day. All right. For example, you can listen to someone calling a store to ask if they have a product available. Okay, so the kinds of things that we talk about every day. Then, when it comes to part two of the test again is something quite simple, and you will hear someone talking about one topic. Okay, it's going to be one person talking, and this person will probably be describing something. Okay, this person would be describing, I don't know, a tour, describing a museum, that kind of thing. An exhibition is going to happen soon. It's going to be one person talking, but it's not too bad. When we get to part three of the listening test, that's where things start to get a little bit confusing, okay, a little bit tricky, because in part three of the listening test, we have academic topics. Okay, so when we're listening to part three, we have to imagine that we are inside a university. Okay, and maybe you will hear a teacher talking to a student, or maybe a teacher giving a student some feedback, or maybe a student talking to another student about a project. Okay, so part three can be a little bit tricky because of that. Okay, and it gets a little bit more complicated. But then part four, okay, part four of the IELTS test, that's where things get very, very tricky. Okay. Oh, another thing, when it comes to parts one, two, and three, there are 10 questions, as I mentioned before, right? However, um, there is a pause in the middle. For part four, there is no pause. So, part four of the listening test, okay, you will hear a person talking about a topic, an academic topic, okay, and there will be no pause in the middle. So, you have to pay extra attention here in part four. Okay, guys. So, just recap. So, part one, simple conversation, okay, maybe two people talking. That's where you have a lot of spelling. Yeah, because sometimes they will spell people's names. Can be tricky. Okay. And then part two, that's where you can get the map. Okay, guys. So if you're worried about the map, if you have tried the test before, okay, you can only get the map in part two. Okay. And then part three is the conversation again. One, two, and three, you have a pause in the middle. But part four, no pause in the middle. Okay. The person will be talk, 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 talk for about, I don't know, 7 to 8 minutes. Okay. And that can be quite tricky. Okay. But I think that the whole test here, oops, the whole test here will last around anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. So the listening part's quite quick. Okay. Very, very quick. After you finish the listening part, you will head to the reading part. Okay. Ta-da. The reading part. Okay. You have 1 hour to read, guys. 1 hour. Right here. 1 hour. All right. So you have 1 hour to read. And sometimes not enough. I have lots of students. They do the test and they go, "Oh, Fabi, if I had just 10 more minutes." Guys, you don't have 10 minutes. All right. So one of the things that you always have to think about is how can I read fast, because you have 1 hour only. Okay. But then we have another thing that is quite interesting when it comes to the reading part. Okay, we have the academic and the general part of the reading test. Okay, so I'm going to explain both. Okay, I'm going to go academic here, general. Okay. And remember, guys, if you are going to study in Australia, you are going to do the academic. If you're going to live, if you're just doing the IELTS test for immigration purposes, you're going to do the general. Okay, so let me tell you the difference. And guys, people who have just arrived, there is a link in the comments. If you click on the link, you will go to my YouTube. Okay, and you can see the board, because it's quite hard for me to show you the board with on Instagram. The screen is not big enough, unfortunately. All right, cool. So academic, what's going to happen? So again, there are three parts for the academic test. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So for the academic IELTS test, we have three parts. Okay. Three texts, and the texts are quite long. Okay. So I'm just going to write long, long, long. Okay. So we have three long texts, and similar to the listening, we also have 40 questions. We also have 40 questions here. All right. So if you're going to do the IELTS academic reading part, three parts, three texts. Passage 1, text some questions. Passage 2, text some questions. Passage 3, text some questions. All right. So that's how it works. And I do think that people don't have a lot of problem reading in itself, but people have lots of problems reading everything in 1 hour. That was one of the biggest issues that people have. Okay. And if we go to the general, it's a little bit different. Okay. So the general test, okay, for part, you have also three parts: 1, 2, and 3. But it's very different. Let me tell you why. If you're going to do the IELTS test for immigration purposes, okay, not to study, you're going to do the general. So the reading general, in the first part, we have two short texts. We write two short. Okay. So I'm going to write text here just so you know. Text, text, text. But for the general one, we have two short texts in the first part, two medium size texts in the second part. Okay. So, guys, because the general one is about you basically being able to, I don't know, go to the doctor and read something that they give it to you, or you are able maybe to read something that you found at work. Okay, so the general one, the texts are quite general. Okay, they're not academic. However, the first one is quite short. Like, no kidding. Let me see if I have an example here for you. Okay, 1 second. Oh no, that's not the right book. This is the right book. Okay, let me put the books here. Put this back here. Okay, all right. So, general training here. I'll show you how short they are. So when I say short, that's it. I don't know if you can see here. That's it. Oops. That's the text. It's very short. Very, very short. Okay. So this is for general part 1. But then part 2 is a little bit longer. Check this out. This is part 2. A little bit longer. But then when it gets to part 3 of the general, you have one long text, which is basically the same as an academic one. Okay, guys. So the same as an academic one. So that can be a little bit of a problem for some people. And I'll show you the difference. It's very different. Let me show you. Ta-da! That's the text. Huge difference, huh? Gigantic difference. Okay. So, but let me tell you something important, okay? Oh, Fabi, so this one is easier. Not really, okay, guys? Not really, because the scoring is different, Okay, so if you look up the scores, for example, to get a 7 here, you need 30. To get a 6 here, you need 30. So the scoring is very different. So you have to think about that also. Okay, but one thing is, most of my students, if they start practicing with the academic and they want to try the general, they usually get the same score. Okay, so the test is made in a way where it doesn't matter which one you do. Okay, you get the same score. All right. So, but I've had students thinking this one is easier, other students thinking this one is easier. So it really depends. Okay, guys, it really depends. All right. But that's what the reading test is like. Okay. Then we get to the part that most people hate, the writing. Right. Okay, so let's go writing. So again, we have, and again, writing, we have academic and general. Okay, so academic and general. Okay. For both, we have two tasks. So I'm just going to write writing task one. Let me go. Writing task one. Writing task one. Can you see? Yeah. Writing task two. Writing task two. Okay. So let's talk about the academic first. Okay. So for the academic one, we have, it's what we call a report. What is it? Oh, you have 1 hour. Also 1 hour. You have 1 hour for this one too. Okay. This is very early. 1 second to do it again. 1 hour. Goody goody. Okay, guys. So 1 hour to do this one. All right. So with the academic writing task one is what we call a report. That's the one where we have picture, okay, and we have to do something about it. It could be a diagram, it could be bar chart, it could be a line chart, it could be a pie chart, it could be a plot, it could be a map, and you have to talk about it. Okay, and you have to write 100, more than 150 words. More than 150 words. Okay, whereas this one here is the essay. Actually, but before I talk about task two, let me talk about task one here. So task one for the general, you have to write a letter or email. I'm gonna write letter, but no one writes letters anymore. It's more an email. And also, you have to write more than 150 words. More than 150 words. All right. Okie dokie. So now for task two, it's actually not very different. Okay, so for both academic and general, you have to write an essay. And for both academic and general, you need more than 250 words. Okay, more than 250 words. Okay, now, as I said before, you have 1 hour to do both. So if you're going to do the academic, you have 1 hour to write your report and your essay. If you're going to do the general, you have 1 hour to write your letter and your essay. But how do you organize that? All right. My recommendation is, personal recommendation, 15 minutes for task one, which leaves you with 45 minutes for task two. Okay. It's very small on the screen, but here it says 15, here it says 45. Okay, guys? Yeah. So if you're watching me on Instagram, head to my YouTube channel, please. Fabi English on YouTube. Okay. All right. Head there so you can see the board. Okay. Okay. All right. So another thing, my recommendation is we have task one and task two. So some people like to do things in order. Don't in this case. Don't. Okay. So to me, you have to do first, you do task two, and then you do task one. Why is that? Because task one is worth double the amount of points compared to task one. Yeah. So recently I was helping some people with the IELTS test, right? And then they decided to focus on task one. So basically, they spent about 30 minutes on task one, and then they couldn't finish task two. Okay. Guess what? Their scores were terrible. All right. So my recommendation is start with task two. Start here. And then whatever time you have left, you can do task one. Because task two is much, much more important than task one. All right. And again, guys, let's say that you get kind of stuck in writing task two. You get stuck on your essay, right? And then you're trying to write something and you get stuck. And then you have 10 minutes left to write task one. You can write an okay task one in 10 minutes. I think so. It's okay. You can do something like, yeah, you can do something reasonable in 10 minutes. But if you spend 30 minutes on task one, I'm sure you cannot write a good essay in 30 minutes, at least 40. It's really, really difficult, guys, to have a good essay in less than 30 minutes. So, my recommendation is start with task two. Okay. It's funny because I recommended this to some people and they said, oh my God, it was such a big difference. Okay, guys. So, pay attention to that. All right. Then another thing is um, if you're practicing writing essay, to me, it doesn't really matter if you are doing essays for academic or general because they're very, very similar. Very, very similar. The only difference would be the topics in itself. Here, we're going to have things that are more academic, like they talk about education, whereas here is more about daily life. Like here, for example, they're going to talk about, do you think that universities are important nowadays? Whereas this one would be about maybe traveling. Okay, so it it depends. Okay, guys. Yeah. So, but it's very similar. Very, very similar. Okay. And with the reading, okay, I always say for people who are going to do the general test, make sure you practice some academic because the last part is academic. So people who always practice general, they get here and they get really stuck because they're so used to just dealing with the shorter texts, and they get here and they get, I don't know, maybe 2 out of 10 correct. Okay. So if you're doing general, my recommendation is try at least one or two full academic texts. All right. Just so you can get the hang of it. And also with the academic text. Okay, guys. Sorry. It gets harder. So the first text is usually slightly easier than the last one. All right. So that's something that we have to keep in mind also. Okay. Keep in mind that too. Okay. Okay. All right. Now let's head to the last part. Okay, guys. If you have any questions, you can pop the questions in. Okay. And if you want to see the board, go to YouTube. All right. Go to YouTube to see the board. Okay. So let me tell you now about the speaking part. Does it fit? I hope so. Can you see? Yes, you can see. It's really small, but you guys can see, right? Okay, right. So for the speaking test, oh my God, so quick. Here. Speaking. All right. I think I should have done this a bit smaller or a bit up here. Next time. Now I know for next time. All right, cool. Now there are 3 parts for the speaking test. 1, 2, and 3. If you watched me last week on Thursday, I did a speaking test online with people. Yeah. So, and I'm gonna do another one next Thursday. Okay, guys. So if you want to see feedback day, you can join me on Thursday. Okay, and there we go over actually each part of the IELTS test, the speaking part. Okay, the whole test. All right, and then I give the person some feedback, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let me think. Yeah. So part one, oh, it's about 12 to 15 minutes. It depends. Okay, guys. 12 to 15 minutes. So the speaking part is actually the shortest part of the IELTS test. The speaking part is the shortest one. Okay, okay. So the first part, all right. The examiner is going to say, hello, how are you? Okay. And they will ask you where you're from. They will ask you, what do you study or do you work, like really personal questions. And then they're going to go into more everyday topics. Okay, for example, they will talk about sorry they will ask you, do you like traveling? Where do you usually travel to? Or do you like watching TV? What do you watch on TV? That kind of thing. Okay. And remember, for part one, the questions are simple. So you have to give simple answers. All right. So just remember that. Okay. And it's going to be the examiner asking you questions and you answering. Okay. But then for task two, part two of the speaking test, it's the part that people find tricky because it's not question, answer, question, answer. Part two is actually you talking for 2 minutes. Okay. So for part two of the speaking IELTS test, IELTS speaking test, you will be asked to look at a prompt. Okay. So you have some ideas there. The examiner will give you 1 minute. You will take some notes, you will prepare, and then you will talk by yourself for 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah, the examiner says for 1 to 2 minutes. My recommendation is 2 minutes. Why? Because the more you talk, the more the examiner will have to give you a score. Okay. And guys, if you talk for less than a minute, the examiner will basically be staring at you, waiting for you to talk a little bit more. Okay, so try to talk as much as you can. All right, for part two, and then part three. Okay, part three. They will continue with the topic from part two. So one topic that that I saw recently was describe device, a technological device, that you use often. Describe it, and then you have to describe it, and then the questions in the third part, they were about technology. Okay, however, the questions here in part three, they are a little bit more academic, more abstract. Okay, so here are those long questions. Okay, and one thing, guys, you can ask the examiner to repeat the questions. Okay, especially in part three, because the questions can be quite long. So you can ask the examiner to repeat it for you. No problem at all. Okay. So you ask the examiner to repeat. And then then you'll be able to answer the questions. Okay. So remember, part one, simple questions, simple answers. Part three, more complex questions, more complex answers. All right. So that's definitely one thing that you guys have to keep in mind. Okie dokie. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Okay. That's it. That's the IELTS test, guys. All right. Okay. So just to recap, okay. So today we talked about the IELTS test. What's the test like? So we have the listening part of the test, 4 parts, 40 questions in total. It lasts for about 30 to 40 minutes. It depends on the listening, okay, how long the listening is, okay. Reading, 1 hour. It doesn't matter if you're going to do academic or general, both you have 40 questions. The difference is for the academic one, you have 3 long texts. And for the general one, you have 2 short texts, 2 medium texts, and 1 very long, very academic text. Okay. Then for the writing, again, we have 2 parts. We have 1 hour to do 2 writings, but you have 2 different ones. If you're going to do the academic one, task 1 will be the report, task 2 will be the essay. My recommendation, start with task 2, spend about 40 minutes on it, and then 15 minutes on task 1. Okay. And same for the general. Okay. So 2 parts. Start with task 2, in my opinion, and then go to task 1. But the difference is if you're going to do the academic, you have to write a report for task 1. If you're going to do the general one, you're going to write a letter. Okay. But the essays, they are very, very similar. Okay. Then speaking. Okay. For the speaking part, we have 3 parts for the IELTS test. So part 1 is will be they will talk to you, they will ask you some questions about yourself and about a simple topic, usually related to hobbies, okay, in everyday life. Then part 2, the tricky one, the examiner will give you some prompts and give you some time to take some notes, okay. And then you can go ahead and speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And then comes the tricky part with more academic questions, more complex questions. Okay, those long questions that sometimes we don't hear the whole thing. All right, guys, that's it. Any questions for me? Any questions? Let me see. Did I miss any questions today? All right. Mm-hmm. I don't think so because I was yeah, guys, so if you want to see the board, you go to YouTube. Okay, the link is there to go to YouTube. Okay, I don't have space. I don't have space on Instagram, unfortunately. Uh-huh. All right, I think that was it. No questions today. No worries. Okay, no questions. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna head out. Yes. So just so you know, I'm going to Brazil to see my family. Yeah, so that's very exciting. I'm going for my mom's birthday, so that's very exciting. I'm going next week. So the time of the lives will be a little bit different next week because I'll be in Brazil. Okay. So but I'll let you guys know, okay, when I'll be live again and you can join me. All right, okay. And Wednesday, haha, on Thursday, I'll be back with another feedback day. I already have a person ready to join me live. And I'm going to do a speaking test with this person and give this person some feedback. It's going to be pretty, pretty cool. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to head out now. Okay. But guys, yeah. So this will be available on YouTube and you can watch anytime, as many times as you want later on. All right. Okay. So I'm going to head out and I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.